Hi, everyone. Tonight we're taking a look at the Censor and the Paladin. David's here with me. David, you played a Censor, right?
Yeah, I had a
I think in one
great
session.
time playing a Censor
Yeah,
in your Delian Tomb game.
yeah.
It's
Everyone's loving Draw Steel. Every game I run, people are just loving it. And the more they play it, the more they love it. It is certainly highly tactically challenging and, really in the combat space. Maybe if you're wanting to get a little bit more exploration and such, you want to um, maybe try other games some of the time. But I think you'll find Draw Steel pretty fun.
yeah, I've had a great time with it.
Hmm.
What I'd like to be able to do is play it enough so that the key tactical skill that I feel like is being challenged is my memory of the character's abilities and my skill at spotting opportunities to use them during the fight, because as much fun as I'm having with the draw steel fights, I'm always feeling like, oh, I missed that. I always
Oh, there's
feel
so
like
much. Yeah,
there's so much going on, and it's got to be 10 times more challenging as the DM or the game master or the director, I should say.
director, right?
Yeah, than it is actually for a character. And
You just got to not sweat it because I'm the same way, right? I'm after a session, I'm like, oh, I missed like 10 different things, but you just don't sweat it. You just play and that's the other thing about games like D&D or Draw Steel or stuff. The challenge also depends on how tactically skilled the DM is. If the DM's just learning, it won't be as challenging. So for sure, for sure, I'm not putting up as much of a challenge as I could. Hi, Alex. Thanks for or Alexi Cruz. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, the Null's a great character. The Troubadours, they're all a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. There's a lot going on. Let's just dive into what you got with the Censor here. So this Censor I got on the right hand side here. This one's been leveled up to level 2. Paragon is the subclass. Got your cultural stuff, your career stuff, follows a saint, knows a number of different languages. These languages don't really make any sense until you dive into the lore for Draw Steel and find out what they each are. I think this is Goblin right here. Goblins speak that one. Celian, I think, is the common language. Everything's got a size, and that's how many squares they take up. So medium, size 1 medium. Speed of 5 squares. Disengage is an action you can take. It's a move action you can take that lets you shift, and when you shift, you don't provoke an attack opportunity. Stability of 2. Every time you're force moved, you get to subtract that stability from your force move. So that's a key trait that everything's got in this game. And otherwise, the force moves could get pretty crazy. But as you're fighting more and more challenging things, they have more and more stability. So it kind of balances out a little bit there. Stamina. Stamina is like old school hit points. It's a measure of how good you are at resisting that killing blow that finally gets through and your stamina gets down to 0. It's not actual hits, just like hit points aren't actual hits. In a lot of cases, and you're down to those low hit points or low stamina. He's got 45 stamina. Now, comparing that to, I have a character here who is a 3rd level paladin in D&D with 28 hit points. But of course, in Draw Steel, there's no attack roll. So your armor effect is built into your stamina. And in D&D, Lucian here with armor class of 18, his hit points are 28, but effectively that armor class of 18 gives him a lot more hit points, effectively, which is kind of what's built into Draw Steel with their stamina, including their armor. In fact, this character's armor, if I look at his gear, he is heavily armored, which is giving him an extra 9 stamina. He also has this cool magic item, this Bloodbound Band, which gives him another 6 stamina. That's something you don't see in D&D, right? Something directly applying to your hit points. It kind of always goes to your con or
yeah,
other things to get your hit points up. And there's no con in this game. That's not one of the attributes. So back to the character here. So he's got stamina 45. And I had to look back in 4th edition D&D. Do you remember 4th edition D&D, David, how they did negative hit points?
I don't remember.
I
Did they
looked
have
back.
negative hit points in
They would go
fourth?
to negative half your half your max, just like Draw Steel's doing. There was some weird stuff about death saving throws still. I didn't fully look back at it. It's been a long time. But so your stamina is 45, you're winded, equivalent to bloodied at 22, and you go to negative half your stamina or negative your winded value before you die completely. When you're at 0 or less, you're dying, which does impede you quite a bit. Not a good state to be in. And then, like you had, God, what was it called in 4th edition? I don't know if you could catch your breath in 4th edition like you can in this game, but in
A
this
second
game,
wind and
second wind was one
healing
thing.
surges.
Yeah. Could
There
anyone
was
do it? I don't remember.
not every character could spend a surge. They had to have something that gave them that ability. So that was a fighter feature that let them just spend it. Otherwise, you'd have to have a healer or somebody.
Yeah. So in Draw Steel, every character has this thing that's a maneuver called Catch Breath, where you can spend a recovery. You can't do it while you're dying, so you got to watch out. If you get down to that 0 stamina or less, you're not able to catch breath on your own. But that gives you back your recovery value, which is 1/3 of your stamina, so 15 for this character. And this character can use 14 recoveries. So if you take, that's almost healing all his stamina 5 times over, just shy of 5 times over.
Well, here's the thing that's cool about the Censor that I really enjoyed is the Censor can spend his or her recoveries and give other characters stamina. Whereas, so it's a resource that the Censor can share with the rest of the party, and do that in a number of interesting ways.
They have the Gods Punish and Defend, which spends some of their heroic resource. They also have the triggered one, which is My Life for Yours. So yeah, a number of different ways that they can spend their own recoveries to give other people their stamina, their recovery value back in stamina, which is strong.
Yeah, I had such a great time stepping in and giving people stamina from my big pool of stamina to spare.
Right.
And it felt more flavorful with the Censor than the Paladin's ability to lay on hands, because it's really an active thing that you're doing right in the midst of combat, helping people stay on their feet, jumping in and intervening and keeping people going. It felt exciting and dynamic.
Yeah, definitely. They did do a nice buff a little bit on the Paladin in 2024 D&D to make lay on hands a bonus action instead of an action. That was sorely needed. But your first level Paladin, or third level Paladin in this case, can only heal 15 hit points per day. So much less than this Censor's healing. In fact, all across the board in Draw Steel, the characters can all recover, all their hit points, all their stamina, basically is most of the time until they run out of recoveries.
Yeah, but it's not a resource that you can get around like you can in D&D, where if you have enough healing potions or an older edition, say a wand of cure wounds, you could just ignore pretty much the resource limitation of having a limited amount of hit points or a limited amount of healing spells. In Draw Steel, you're capped by how many surges everybody has. And that's an important thing to keep an eye on, because once you're out of recoveries, I should say, you're in a dangerous territory where somebody could get dead.
Yeah, you can't help them when their recoveries are down to 0. Now they do have healing potions, and those do give you back your recovery value without spending a recovery. So
okay.
there are resources, not as widespread. Like in D&D, you have all the cure spells, right? But in D&D, so we were looking at the Censor here, and he can recover basically all his stamina almost 5 times over in a day, or not necessarily a day, but between respites. And a respite's a little bit harder to get to than in D&D. It's in a long rest plus. You need to be really in a safe location to use a respite. In D&D, this Paladin here, he's got 28 hit points, and he's got 3 10-sided dice plus 2. So he can only basically get back with his own hit dice his max hit points once. anything else is going to have to come from cure spells or healing potions or such. So definitely a lot less there.
I think that mechanic of having to find a particularly safe space to recover or rest that I've seen in a couple of D&D adjacent games, I think that's a pretty good idea. Because it does sort of reduce your opportunity for a 10-minute adventuring day. If you don't have time pressure, you've still got to be somewhere comfortable.
Yeah. Let's look real quick at this poll I got going. I was kind of surprised by this. Not surprised by it being more fun. A lot of people think the Censor is more complicated and more fun. I was surprised by how many people thought it was less complicated. It is for sure not less complicated.
I'm not sure where you come up with that.
Right. Now, maybe when you're counting spells, and maybe we're so used to spells that we don't think of them as complication. Like, you know, if someone is brand new to D&D, they don't know what Divine Smite does, Protection from Evil and Good does, Wrathful Smite does. So they have to look up all those things. So I can see that.
And then if you're playing a paladin, you realize you'd just as soon be smiting than spending those spells.
You only need one spell, Divine Smite, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's look at, I got my macro buttons up here. And basically each one of these macro buttons is a thing that that character can do. And if we look at the Censor in Draw Steel, we got like almost 3.5 lines. Look at the Paladin, it's 2.25 lines. So definitely a lot more there. What do you do in a turn in Draw Steel versus what do you do in a turn of D&D? So the action economy in Draw Steel is you have an action, you have a maneuver, you have a move, you have triggers that can be done once per round, and you have free triggers that can be done as often as they get triggered. So I have that divided up here where I have the actions with the A, then I have the maneuvers with the M, then the moves here, and then the triggers, and then the free triggers. And you'll see you have a lot of triggers. A lot of triggers in this game. So when your turn comes up, let's say you're starting a fight, you get to look at how many victories you've had in the day so far. Basically, how many successful encounters you've had in the day so far. And the more of those you have, the more of your heroic resource you start with. And that heroic resource powers a lot of your powers. So if, say, this is the 4th encounter in the day, you have 3 victories before you get to this encounter, you're starting with the heroic resource, which for you is Wrath of 3. And then when your turn comes up, start your turn, you're going to get 2 more Wrath. You're going to be, so your turn might start with 5 Wrath. The first thing you're going to want to do as a Censor is Judge. So you're using Judgment, range 10, targets enemies. I utter a prayer that outlines my foe in holy energy. This Censor is a Paragon, so he's going to be vertically pulling that enemy 4. So if that enemy's flying, you can pull him down to the ground. If the Censor's flying, you can pull the enemy up. That's the first time you judge someone on a turn, because you can move your judgment around a lot during a turn. So only the first time on a turn do you pull them 4.
Yeah, and judgment is almost like a parallel to Hunter's Mark, say in D&D, where you're naming a particular foe on the battlefield as your target, and then you get a bunch of advantage things that trigger off what that foe's doing. When the foe dies, you can flip it to somebody else.
And that's a free trigger, so that you can just do that as many times as you drop foes in a turn.
Yep. And I love how flavorful that vengeance and that targeting of foes proves to be in play, because it really steers into the whole idea of you're some sort of holy avenger kind of thing, and targeting foes for your judgment and then zeroing in and destroying them. It's a lot of fun to play that way. It's kind of a superhero, or I guess if you were going for an evil Censor, you could be really frightening.
Yeah, that's a good take on it. An evil Censor would be pretty interesting. So you judge them until the end of the encounter. So that one maneuver gets that person judged till the encounter. After that, it's free to transfer it. Every time you drop someone to 0 stamina, you're transferring it around. So basically, you spend a maneuver at the start of the encounter to have that judgment going. Every time someone you have judged does a main action, you're dealing holy damage to them. You can spend your Wrath when they have these things that trigger. So an adjacent judged creature starts a shift, you can strike at them, and their speed also becomes 0 if you spend 1 wrath, so that you can lock them down. If a judge within 10 of you makes a power roll, you can grant that a Bane, so they're going to have a -2 penalty on that power roll, and that takes a wrath. If they're going to use some sort of potency effect that affects, if your might's less than 2, you're bloodied or bleeding, you can lower that so it's might less than 1 type of thing. And then you can taunt. If you damage your judge target with a melee attack, you can taunt them. Taunting is pretty potent. It means that they have a double Bane to attack anyone other than you. So it really locks them into you. So you can do that right away. You have some other nice maneuvers, and there's so many different maneuvers. You always want to be using a maneuver on your turn. You have Blessing, which takes 5 of your wrath till the end of the encounter until you're dying. The targets anyone within 3 of you, you or any of your allies, gain 1 surge at the end of each of your turns. And surges are like this universal resource that's a bonus. You can spend them to do more damage. You can spend them to increase the potency of one of your attacks. And so it's like rolling all the different things that might be bonuses into one thing to track.
In our games, we were terrible about using surges.
Right.
I
It's
think we
something
had
you don't
enough
think
on our
about.
plate that we weren't really thinking about the surges. And
Yeah. And that's an example of how 3, 4, 5, 6 games in, you're still learning how to play these characters well. For sure. 8 attack is another big one. So you can attack and aid someone coming after you to have an edge when they attack. And flanking is a thing in this game, so you can easily get a double edge. You can, aid the next person to attack the person you're attacking, and if they come and move into a flank with you, they have a double edge. So that's a big one. You catch your breath, and you got to make sure you're doing that before you drop below 0. Escaping, grabbing if you want to grab someone and lock them down. If you want to knock someone around, knock back is basically, a maneuver, and you're automatically going to push them 1 unless they have some stability. Standing up, and a little known thing about this is if your friend's prone next to you, you can stand them up with this power. Yeah. And then using consumables, most consumables like potions are going to be a maneuver to use. Then you get your movements. Advance is just use your movement like regular. You got a speed of 5 squares. You can split up before, after your maneuver, your action, before and after, before or after, whatever you like. Disengage, like we talked about, is letting you get out of danger. Riding hasn't really come up in any games we've done yet. So you got that to look at. And now you have what are called free strikes. So this is like you're taking your weapon and you're just striking. Just swing your sword. This character's got heavy weapons, so probably a great sword or a maul or a great axe or whatever you want it to be. You pick what you want your weapon to be. It's going to do +4 melee weapon damage on the high end rolls. So it's going to do a lot of damage and roll good. And a melee free strike is going to come up basically anytime someone grants you an attack of opportunity or someone else in the group grants you an attack. It's generally going to do the least amount of damage you do with any of your powers, 4 to 13 points of damage with that attack. Ranged, that'd be like throwing a javelin or picking up a rock and throwing it. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage for this character. And then you have your signature attacks. These are the ones that you would do as a main action on your turn. They take a little bit more than a free strike, but don't take any of your heroic resources. And you got 2 of them as this character. And when you're building your characters, there's a lot to choose from. Yeah, pull up. Here we go. So here's the Censor. First level features. You're picking from a bunch of different signature abilities and heroic abilities. So the one that this character has is your allies cannot save you, but they could have had any one of these other 3. So there'll be a lot of variety in characters, I think. So this character has your allies can't save you. It's doing holy damage. Enemies adjacent to the target are pushed 2. This game, people are getting pushed all the time. Pushed and pulled and slid all the time. And there's all sorts of rules for how they damage each other when you run them into each other. So it's really a lot of fun in that regard, I think. And the fact that this damage is holy is huge against undead. I don't know if you played, I don't think you fought any undead, David, when you played, but There's been some undead, and it's really potent to be able to do holy damage to undead.
Does that, we did fight some demons, if I remember, or yeah, it'd be demons.
Yeah, some
I don't know
creatures also are have weakness to abilities, so we take more damage. And then your other one is pain for pain, and this comes from the fact that you're wielding a heavy weapon. It comes from this mountain kit that has the heavy weapon, and so it's just doing straight big amounts of damage, 5, 7, 15, plus more if the target hit you. So now your wrath is sitting there at 5, right, on this first turn, and it's your turn to go. You have a couple abilities that use wrath. You have the God's Punish, which is going to do holy damage, and you can spend a recovery to allow you or an ally in 10 of you to regain your recovery stamina. So you're able to help heal your allies. That takes 3 of your wrath. Or you can do Arrest, which does even more damage and grabs automatically an opponent. And if they try to strike someone, you can spend wrath to deal damage to them and change the target of that strike. So pretty cool power there. You're like I said, you got your wrath at the start of the turn plus 2. So every turn you get 2 more wrath. Every time the creature you have judged damages you, well, once per round, you gain wrath. And every time you damage the judged target, you gain wrath. So you definitely want to judge right away. You want someone judged at all times. Yeah.
That's first thing you do.
Yeah. When the stamina goes to 0, you can change the judge thing. When they use the main action, you deal damage to them. Then these ones cost 1 wrath each. So it's, a lot of stuff to track, really. It is, I think, very complex, very hard to play fast, play immersed, play in character. There's so much like coordination between characters that oftentimes it feels like it pulls you out of the fiction and into the mechanics of a game. And that'll just, I think, probably blend away with when you get really good at it. What are your thoughts, Dave?
I think it would be great to play this with a group that was doing vivid descriptions of what their powers are doing.
Yeah.
Because there tends to be people say, I'm going to use your friends cannot help you and take this, push that. And you don't really get that cinematic picture for what's actually happening. We experienced the same kind of thing in 4th edition where, after a while, you had no idea what anybody else was doing. It was just take this damage, apply this effect, next.
Yeah.
And it was very fun as a tactical challenge. But as far as, getting a mental picture of what was happening, it probably wasn't working all that great.
Yeah. It'll take, I think, a real concerted effort on a whole group of players to make that happen. I think it's worth it if you make that happen, but it is not natural for sure. And it'll take a lot of good experience with the system. The system, it points out in the rules, hey, these names for these powers, change them like you want. These descriptions of these powers, change them like you want. So you're definitely not locked in.
I once ran a 4th edition game, and somebody at the table was playing a bard, and he'd renamed all his powers after Metallica songs. And I can't honestly say that I was less or more knowledgeable about what he was doing than any of the other characters.
All right, so that's what you're doing with the Censor. Let's see what you're doing with the Paladin. So in D&D, the action economy, of course, is an action, a bonus action sometimes, and movement. And movement can be before and after, just like it is for Draw Steel. The action is usually going to be a spell or an attack. And the bonus action is going to be some limited set of bonus actions, maybe some spells, maybe some class features. The knocking around, the grappling, that kind of stuff, all takes the action place. So there'll be less of that usually in a game of D&D than there is in the game of Draw Steel, because your actions, your attacks are going to do so much more damage than knocking someone prone or that kind of stuff. So you probably won't do it very often. But what you got? You have your longsword. Probably going to be attacking with your longsword. If you hit with your longsword, you're probably going to be doing Divine Smite with your bonus, and then you'll move around. Another round, you might attack with your longsword, but use lay hands because someone's down. Another round, you might, swing your longsword again and then do Wrathful Smite this time with your bonus. Another round, you might cast Protection from Evil and Good, but that takes up your whole round. None of your bonuses can really stack on top of that, except Lay on Hands can. None of your attack bonuses can. So not quite as much to think about and to track. You're not tracking Wrath. You're not building up some heroic resource that you have to track. So I find it much less complicated. I can't believe people think
yes.
it's more complicated than Draw Steel is. It feels much less complicated.
And there's so many fewer things that are triggered. Almost nothing, really.
Yeah, right. You have an attack opportunity. What else is triggered on this character? I think nothing. Attack opportunity. They have Channel Divinity. They can do Divine Sense as a bonus. They can do, so if I take my longsword attack, I can also Sacred Weapon it as part of the attack action as a free. So that's a free trigger, basically, on an attack action to watch out for. Chanting Song is a full-on action. Healing Hands is a full-on action. Yeah. So the only thing is really that Sacred Weapon, which is your own thing, and an attack opportunity. You have a really good armor class. Your hit points are kind of comparable, I think, when you contribute the effect armor class has on the hit points. That isn't, you don't get it Draw Steel. So now I have a couple ogres. I have a Draw Steel ogre, and I have a D&D ogre. And we can just see how a fight between these guys would go. The Draw Steel ogre is an elite monster, so in theory, it's like the equivalent of 2 characters. The ogre in D&D is a challenge rating 2, which should be a really hard challenge for a 3rd level character, I would think. And we'll just let the characters go first, and we'll say they have 0 victories. So, hey Foxtrick, how is it going? So we'll look at on this character for the Censor. I have bars here. I don't have any attributes assigned to them, but if I was going to assign in attributes, I'd assign probably Wrath to one of them and probably Surges to the other one. And so round 1, again, 2 Wrath, save that. So I start my turn, gain Wrath. I'm going to do Judgment on this ogre. He's within 10 of me. I'm going to pull him. He's got a stability of 4, so I don't actually pull him. The stability of 4, I don't pull anything. So there's my maneuver, and then I'm going to move up to him. And then if I have 2 Wrath, I can't really use any of my powers yet, so I'm going to use the signature, and I'll go for, I think Pain for Pain does more damage even without the added bonus. I could do like trade my action. In Draw Steel, you can trade your action for a maneuver or a move. So if I wanted to like get up to him and then grab him, I could do that instead of attacking him, but I won't do that. I'll just do Pain for Pain. So here we go. I got a 14 on the die roll. That's 2d10 plus 2 for my attribute of might, which is plus 2. And yeah, those ogres are tough in the tower, that's for sure. Fox Trick. So with that 14, I'm going to do 7 damage. He's got 100 hit points or 100 stamina. And he might have triggers. So as a DM, you're watching for triggers. So here's a trigger. He's got Swat the Fly. A creature and object moves or shifts away. So that won't happen. He's also, at the start of his turn, would have built up Malice. And that Malice is the round plus the number of enemies he's fighting. So he'd be at 2 Malice, comparable to the Wrath of the Censor that's fighting him. So the Censor's done. That's all the stuff he can do. Now the Ogre's going to go. He's got Club Swing, which can affect 2 different targets. So a lot of elite creatures like hit 2 creatures at once. He's got Grabby Hand, where he can, let's see what it does. Grabby Hand does a lot of damage. It's a maneuver doing a lot of damage. So 19 on the maneuver roll. That's 14 damage to the Paladin. The Paladin's got no triggers really to reduce the damage. Well, he's got My Life. He takes damage, right? So you spend a recovery and target regain your recovery stamina. You can target yourself. So he could do that right away if he wanted to. If he wanted to spend his trigger to do that. And he kind of might as well. He's going to otherwise not run out of recoveries. So the damage he's going to take from that 19 was 14 points of damage. His recovery is 15, so he's going to be back up to full stamina, having used one of his recoveries with his triggered action there. And then that was the ogre doing grabby hand as a maneuver. It also grabs, so he's grabbed. He took no damage. It's Bane to escape. Now the ogre can do people bowling. I won't have him do that. He'll just bonk him over the head with his club with his other hand, I guess. So that's another 19. That's doing another 14 damage. Now I can't trigger again. You can only trigger once unless I have some sort of free trigger. I don't really have any free triggers that could take that 14 damage for me. So that does do 14 damage and push 6 and knock prone. I got split at 2, so the ogre, if there's a wall behind me and he pushed me into the wall, I'd be taking a lot of damage for that. But he throws me across the room. I land prone across the room. And then the ogre still got his move, so he's going to just charge on up to me. And that's it for that turn. So that's one turn of draw steel, an ogre versus a censor. The ogre's beating the heck out of that censor for sure, but the censor's spinning recoveries like mad to keep up. Now, the paladin versus the ogre in D&D. He will come up, can't really do anything else, doesn't judge him, doesn't do anything like that. He will do sacred weapon, so all his attacks are +3 for the fight. And then he'll do a longsword attack. And the ogre's armor class is only 11, so he's going to hit the ogre all the time with +3 on the charisma attack rolls. Doing 9 damage. Might as well do a bonus action smite. Divine smite. So another 10, so 19 damage to that ogre. Now, I overdo the damage output in D&D because I feel like D&D is just too easy. Dave might disagree with me, seeing how characters die all the time at my table.
Just at low levels.
Just at low levels. So this guy's doing 1.2 times regular damage. I'm just taking the damage he does, multiplying by 1.2, and I round up on top of that. So anyway, the ogre's only got one attack. Great club. Not all the other cool stuff this other ogre did with the people bowling and the grabby hand and, the club swing and all that stuff. This guy's just going to swing his great club and hit or miss. And that's a miss. So his turn's done. Now back to these other guys. So I forgot that. I'm going to move these guys back down. Yeah, 5.24 is still too easy, but not as bad. It's certainly got much tougher. They made a lot of the monsters very tough. They're much closer to being a good challenge for a party. But even then, if you look at a high-level adventure, it's always way under challenging. I'm answering. I should put what I'm answering here from Chief Matt. High-level adventures are always way under challenging. I don't know why they can't ramp them up to be the challenge they need to be. Okay, but anyway, the censor, I forgot, and this will happen to you when you're playing. If you're only doing your character, you should be on top of it. His judged creature damaged him. He damaged his judged creature, so he should be up to 4 wrath. Plus, then on the start of his turn, he's getting 2 more wrath. So now he's sitting at 6 wrath. So that's good. He's prone, so he's going to go ahead and use his maneuver to stand. I'll get him standing up. And now he can do a rest. He can do blessing as a maneuver. So let's do blessing, just so we can see how that works. Till the end of your encounter where you're dying, he's going to get a surge at the end of each of his turns. So he's sitting at 0 surges right now. And also hero tokens, he'd have 1 hero token. There's 1 hero token per player. And he can use hero tokens to gain surges. I think you can spend 1 hero token, get a 1 surge. Maybe it's 1 hero token for 2 surges. So let's just spend that right now, and we'll get surges up to 2. I might be wrong. It might only be 1. He's got his blessing going. He's got 2 surges. That took 5 of his wrath to do the blessing. Now he's going to do pain for pain because he took damage from the thing. So he's going to do more damage. And he has no way to give himself an edge, unfortunately, that I know of. So that's 7 damage. He's going to spend those 2 surges to do 4 more damage, to do 11 damage to the ogre. And he stood up. Did I did 2 maneuvers, so I couldn't have done what I did. You always gotta watch out for that too. I always like to, when I'm playing, like, kinda jot down what my next turn is gonna be and have a line for action, have a line for maneuver, have a line for move, and try and fill them all up in the planning stages. So, he would not have got that blessing off, but that didn't do anything yet. It was gonna do something at the end of his turn, so instead of that, I'll just keep his, wrath up at 6. And he's not gonna get a surge at the end of his turn. Alright, so that's his turn. And now the ogre's going to go. The ogre will grabby hands him again. And with a 10, he does not grab him. He only does 7 damage to him. So, and now you'll use this trigger to back to my life and get back 15. So -7 plus 15. So he's back up to almost full, having used 2 recoveries now. But now the ogre's going to smash him with the club swing again. And again, rolled low. So this is only 7 damage, only pushed 2. You got stability 2, so you don't go anywhere. You just took that 7 damage. So that is turn 2 for those guys. Now the paladin's probably going to make short work of this ogre over here. He's got a sacred weapon going. He's attacking with his longsword. He hit by a mile. He'll do a divine smite again for 23 points of damage to that ogre. Ogre will try and swing back with the great club. Just connecting for 16 damage to the paladin. And that ogre rolled low on that 16 damage. Well, average, actually. All right. Round 3. I've been not tracking the ogre's malice. It started with 2. He got 2 more round. Actually, what is it? Number of characters plus the round. So up to 5 last round. And this round, it's round 3, 4 more. So he's up to 9 malice. So we'll spend some of that malice this turn. We'll start with the paladin, who I forgot again. His wrath he took and did damage. So up to 8. Then he spends 2 at the start of his turn. So he's up to 10 wrath. Add rounds, right? Fox trick. So now let's let the paladin just unleash on this guy. Now he'll do blessing. So he'll have that going. And he'll do a rest. And that'll spend all his wrath. That'll take him down to 0 wrath. And he rolled an 18, so great roll. 19 points of holy damage and grabs the ogre. And then at the end of his turn, he has no move he wants to do. So at the end of his turn, he is going to gain a surge because of his blessing. Now the ogre's turn. He's going to spend this malice. So he's going to go on a rampage. And this is something that would affect all the ogres they encounter. He's going to spend 7 of his 9 malice, so he's going to be down to 2 malice. And until the end of the round, each ogre has damage immunity 5. Oh, that'd be a lot better to do if he had the initiative over the paladin. And he doesn't. So maybe that's not a great thing to do. And he deals extra damage with his abilities. So we'll just do that. His extra damage would be +5 with each ability. He did, he'll do grabby hands, which is 19 points of damage. And the paladin can trigger his my life again and get back 15. And now he's used 3 of his recoveries. And then the ogre can do, and now he has him grabbed. So now let's see, what would his people bowling look like? He could trade his action for people bowling, which is where he hurls that guy, and if there's anyone in between that guy and where he hurls them to, they all take damage. So not as fun with only one opponent, but he hurls them basically 6 squares away, doing 9 damage to him and everyone else in the whole path, and that's it. So 9 more damage to the paladin. Paladin ogre done. That runs over. And then in DnD, the paladin's got, I think, 3 spell slots. He's already done 2 divine smites, so he's got 2 more to go because he gets 1 for free. Hit again, divine smite again. 18 points of damage to the ogre. Oh, shoot. Maybe the paladin should have laid down hands on himself because the ogre might just kill him right now. Nope, ogre missed. And then back to the paladin. He charges forward. He's at 4 wrath at the start of his turn. he'll do pain for pain, doing 15 damage to the ogre. He's got 1 surge, so he's going to spend it to do 2 more damage to the ogre. He'll get it back, and then he's going to catch his breath, so he'll get another 15 back. And now he's spent 4 surges. And the ogre is going to let him have it. Grabby hand for free, doing a bunch of damage, 11 damage to the paladin. And paladin can trigger then his my life and get back 15. And 5 recoveries now, and he's still got like 9 left. Then the ogre's going to do club swing, 19 for 14 damage, and pushing 6 and knocking him prone. And then paladin over here will finish off the ogre. Yep. And that's it for that guy over there. So you can see there's a lot more going on, and that's just a one-on-one fight. In a fight with all of your allies in it, oh boy, is there a lot to track. But it's fun. I mean, it's really tactically challenging to make the most of everything, I think, in Draw Steel. Thoughts, David?
Well, that Draw Steel palette Censor, I should say, is definitely oriented to a group dynamic,
right?
With all the things where it gives healing to other characters, and that ogre is supposed to be a threat for 2 characters,
right?
Which is why there were 2 of them to fight in the Delian Tomb, because that's equivalent to 4 characters.
Was that with the Judge Banes applied also? So I never did a Bane on him, so I can. Anytime he does a power roll in 10, spend 1 wrath to grant him a Bane on his attack. And I never did that. Yeah, that's definitely an option. I was saving it up so I could do the Arrest and the Blessings to see how those worked. There's so many options like that, though. And so much to explore as you're playing the game. And I just highly encourage, this is, I know, contrary to what Draw Steel says in their rules, and I think how Matt likes to play. Don't do turn by committee. Oh my God. It'll slow you down so much. Play your character. Let other people play their characters. And I think you'll have a much better time. I can't stand turn by committee. I don't know about you, Dave. What do you think about turn by committee, David?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
There's a little bit that you can jump in and do. That's kind of one of the reasons why we weren't using surges a lot. We didn't want to open a discussion about whether you were entitled to take that resource from the group. And so they just sat there because everyone was politely leaving them for somebody else.
Yeah, that's an interesting take on, let me pull up I don't have the buttons across the bottom. I have my quick reference because I got my D&D setup going. But for miscellaneous and Draw Steel, you have your hero tokens. That's the thing that no one wants to pull, right? Because it's a shared community pool. They're really important when someone's about to die, because on your turn or when you take damage, so when you're taking the damage that's going to kill you, you can regain your recovery stamina without spending a recovery by spending 2 hero tokens. So you don't want to be the jerk that took all the hero tokens when someone's about to die and there's no hero tokens left. So that is one mechanic that's kind of unfortunate, I think.
I'd be interested in hearing somebody make the pitch for that kind of shared resource. Because it does seem like something you don't want to take, and you really should be using, because otherwise it's no fun to have it and not use it.
Right. Yeah. I like Fox Trick. Make sure you're role-playing in character, or if you're going to do turn by committee, go get more pizza while they talk. Yeah, I am not a fan of that. But you do want to have those little tactical discussions, because this is a weird thing. I was watching the players play a game recently that I was running, and it's like the do you want your healer to go first and heal everyone up, or do you want your damage dealer to go first? Because often the best defense is good offense. If you can down the guy that's going to do damage to your party, then you saved a whole bunch of resources. You saved all that healing. But if that person gets to you first and drops you before you can drop them, and you didn't heal the guy who's about to drop, there's this like real push and pull on whose turn needs to go first. It was interesting to watch as the DM, the players trying to decide. They basically always defaulted to the healer going first, but that meant that they didn't ever off the guy that was about to go, which they may have at a couple of occasions. So that's an interesting look at the game plays. Let's look at some. I've been doing a lot of polls and pretty interesting results. So we got the censors more complicated, more fun. I think that's clearly, it is more complicated. It's more fun tactically. So if your fun comes from tactical combat, definitely. If you like to get more exploration done in your adventures, then you might find it less fun because you're just focused on combat the whole time. As a player, do you prefer a tabletop RPG with no reactions, like Shadow Dark has no reactions, limited reactions like DnD, they don't always come up, or extensive reactions like Draw Steel? You're going to get a reaction every round, almost. And people like the DnD one. It's kind of split between Shadow Dark and Draw Steel. It's an interesting take, even with having one reaction for everyone around. That just means your turn's going to take a lot longer to get to. So is it worth having? Certainly Shadow Dark went with no, and Draw Steel went with absolutely. You can say it keeps you engaged in the round, but if your turn is like 10 seconds away, you're also engaged, right? So,
yeah,
yeah,
right. So it's good to find some sort of happy middle, because there is a lot of design space for richness, for having things reactions, but wow, you can really slow things down if everyone's reacting to reactions to other reactions, and it's starting to chain.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd like Shadow Dark, having no reactions, but gosh, I'm kind of warming up to it. Limited reactions, people always forget if they already used it. Yeah, if you have one per round, that is pretty common. As a player, do you prefer a TTRPG with 3 actions like Pathfinder does? 1 action bonus or maneuver, 1 move like Draw Steel and D&D does, or just 1 action, 1 move? And everyone was kind of the middle ground with the D&D Draw Steel. I like 1 action, 1 move. But the problem with 1 action, 1 move, and the problem with the bonus action in D&D, if it's a problem, is you don't get that kind of like knocking around, maneuvering type of secondary things that you wouldn't do if you had to spend a full action to do it. But if they relegate it to this action you can only use to do those things, then you do them more often. My Grognards took 3 sessions to Draw the Seal, say goodbye to 5e and Pathfinder 1 to 2. People love it. I mean, they really do enjoy playing it as far as everything I've seen. Less is more. I think I'd want to have a little like variety in my gaming, because it is hardcore combat the whole way as far as I've seen. Now, 4th edition was that way too, and there was some like later, as people got used to creating for it, some of the later adventures got a little bit better at getting more exploration put in and that kind of stuff. So I can still see they could do that with Draw Steel. Okay, next one. Metacurrency. So Draw Steel's got this malice metacurrency. Daggard's got fear. Do you like to see it as a player? And the vast majority of players said they'd like to see it, for sure. Foxtrix says they felt like heroes finally. It is very heroic. I mean, and oh my God, does he get to the point where it's like, oh, we're all going to die, and then, oh wait, we killed them all? And it's real swingy. It can be a real swingy game, for sure. What do you think about metacurrency? Do you like to see it, Dave?
Oh yeah, I tend to like to see that sort of thing exposed to the players.
Yeah. As a player, do you prefer adventures with, well, this was obvious. No one wants a fully predetermined story. I was surprised 5% said yes. It's like, really? It's just story time for you? Is that what that is? But yeah, I think I'm probably kind of leaning between these two. I don't want to have to go find the adventure. I like there to be some cool adventure to go on. And so that takes some amount of predetermination, right? It's not just random wandering monster charts. So I'm probably in that same camp as the majority there.
Yeah, if you've got villains that are active and working against the party or doing their own plans, then I think you've got a situation that sets up a really strong possibility for an emergent play story.
That's what I like, is sites that are really interesting, enemies with agendas. You know, not necessarily, hey, I'm going to go to A, then to B, then to C, then to D, and this is going to happen in each of those locations, predetermined. So yeah, not like that. This one was, which of the following do you plan to run and play first? Here's the Borderlands is crushing Hellfire Club, but that might have been because Hellfire Club was just out. And people were wanting to jump on the Heroes of the Borderlands. So I'm playing Heroes of the Borderlands. We're running it. I think you can run it like a good old school D&D adventure. You won't use all the content in there. There's a lot of it's really interesting how they designed it, right? It's designed so that you could have DMs trading spots, and you have these like pre-wrapped 1 hour little mini adventures. And there's a lot of reliance on skill checks that don't matter, don't have any weight. Doesn't really matter that, oh, I didn't get any paper cut in this part of the adventure. A lot of those you can throw out, and there's still some good core stuff there, and you can play a really cool adventure with it, I think.
I think it's important to mention that these two boxes are reaching for different audiences. Hellfire is definitely looking for Stranger Things fans who say, I've seen this game on the show, and boy, it looks like fun. I'd like to give it a go. Whereas Borderlands, obviously, there's an appeal as a starter set to new players, but they didn't pick the Borderlands as a setting to appeal to new players. That's to get reach folks like us who are looking for a little bit of nostalgia.
Yeah, I ran it twice, and I ran the first time, which you suffered through, David.
I did not suffer through that.
All the encounters in the box, and they were just annoying. But there's some good ones in there, and I ran that for the second group, and it ran great. So I'll do a how-to with my recommendation. There's like 4 things in the keep that I recommend, and then I like how it's set up where it's kind of sandboxy. There is agendas, there is things you can accomplish, but you're not forced into a specific adventure.
It's been great fun with that sandboxy aspect. I do miss, the lack of a thread of an overall plot or something like that. Maybe we haven't seen it, but I do miss that a little bit. But I really relish the sandbox nature where you totally feel like your actions and decisions are shaping the course of the adventure, whereas it doesn't feel like you're kind of on that track where you finish this encounter and it points the way to the next encounter, and so on until you reach the climactic battle with the Cult of Chaos or whatever it is.
Yeah. This is a great little map we're using. This was done by, did I put his name here? I did not put his name. Cool location to keep on the Borderlands, though. This is in the Duchy. Shoot. Did I say here? I don't say where it's at exactly. Grand Duchy, something like that. But you got the Rushmores. You got N1 Adventure in Orlane right there. You got the Dim Forest to the north. It's a cool location for it. Really fits in well. Are you running and playing Heroes of Borderlands 2? Oh, current favorite TTRPG. I'm surprised. I mean, Raw Steel is winning all the polls that I'm putting up. So people are definitely drawn to it. They got a hit on their hands there to MCDM. And way outpacing Daggerheart. Daggerheart seems like it's kind of stumbling out of the blocks. It'd be interesting to see how everything looks in about a year.
Yeah, it'll definitely take a few years to see how things shape up.
Yeah.
See which has
And
legs.
best starter adventure, lost mine at Vandelver's winner there, but Spore in Search of the Unknown. That was my first adventure ever. It's definitely just purely a sandbox dungeon setting with the random villain, the monsters in the dungeon. There's not much to it. Keep on the Borderlands. I ran the original Keep on the Borderlands. That was hard to prep. Oh my god, there's a lot going on there. But so was the starter box that just came out. It was hard to prep too. If you prep it that the party can go anywhere and do anything, and you're not just playing, oh, I'm going to DM Cave A, that's the only place you guys can go, and here it is. But if you have an open sandbox, it can take a little bit to prep it. Plus, there's all 2024 monsters, which were brand new for me. So I had to update my macros and such for that.
I might check other and select Sunken Citadel, because I think that is an amazing first level adventure, or first through third, whatever it is. Just a virtuoso piece of work there.
Yeah. Yeah. What comments do we have? Let's see what other comments we had there. Stormwreck Isle, Sunless Citadel.
Sunless Citadel, yeah.
Delian Tomb. Delian Tomb is actually a really good starter adventure. I like it. It combines two things. It's got a get you right into the action and a little mini adventure, and then an open sandbox, which is nice. Borderlands doesn't do that. It doesn't get you right into smack. You're in a mini adventure, and then you got a sandbox. It's just a sandbox. So yeah, Delian Tomb is really a well done one. Lost Mine. Village of Hamlet. That's a interesting adventure. It's like a sandbox village that you got to try and go find where the moat house is. Dragon of Icefire Peak. Delian Tomb again. Tower of the Stargazer or Crypt of the Everflame. I've heard Crypt of the Everflame. I never read it though. So there we go. All right, I think that's about it for us. Anything else to add, David?
I'm just eager for GameholeCon coming right up tomorrow.
Yeah, GameholeCon tomorrow.
Yeah.
Are you signed up to play in James Introcasso's game?
No.
Oh, I'm signed up for that, and I think it's their new dungeon crawler that they're working on.
Oh, okay.
So they're working on a game kind of Shadow Darky dungeon crawly. That'll be fun to play. So
I'm surprised they went with a completely different set of D6 mechanics.
That's right. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching.